Let's talk about the best books I have read in 2025. I like to keep you updated and do quarterly favorites. So I have done one video so far. I will link down below and at the end. But basically during the month of April, May, and June, I will put all the books I have read. I think it's 21. To be honest, it's a little less than usual. I'm still very happy with that number, but for some reason I stopped listening to audiobooks. I don't know what's going on. And I don't feel like I have found that many amazing books, but I still have enough books that I can do a top 5, the ones I would recommend. And just because I didn't give a book 5 stars doesn't mean that you won't, right? There are still pros and cons, things that you will like that I don't really care for, and vice versa. So let's talk about the top 5. My number 1 book of the last quarter has to be There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. I love her. This is officially the 3rd book I have finished by her. I think it's my number 1. It's not the one I would recommend starting with. I would still go with 10 minutes and 38 seconds in this strange world. But this one is still really worth it. It's just one of those that is like a bit more of a slow burn. It takes a while to really begin. You found these 3 point of views that are really different. So every time you would switch to the next one, it would take me a second to get back into the story. But I love her writing. It's just beautiful, super quotable. And this story, definitely heart-wrenching. She makes me cry, and I don't really cry when I read books. I don't even love literary fiction that much, but here I am. And there's also always a hint of magical realism, which is also not my thing. And here I am, probably the best book I've read in the last 3 months. You have this boy who was born in the 1800s, incredibly poor, and he will be trying to get an education, do something of himself, which is very hard in this condition. You have this young girl in 2014 who lives next to the Tigris River, and her grandmother is letting her know all those stories that are kind of magical and linked to her people as they are under attack, which I realized towards the end that a lot of that portion is definitely linked to real life events. So that's the portion that's going to make you cry. And then the last point of view is in 2018, this woman who, it feels like she's really lost in life. She's doing a lot of crazy decisions according to her family. She is demanding divorce. She goes to live on a boat. Like, a lot happens. And you can see how water is linking all of those stories, and it will. I'm keeping it vague because it's one of those stories you just have to experience for yourself. It's part of the beauty of it is her writing and like the vibes. But yes, it's absolutely worth it. Really not what I usually go for, and I loved it. We're going into a very different side of the spectrum, and I wanted to give a shout out to They Never Learn, which is one of those stories like female rage kind of vibes. You have, again, 2 point of views and you're not too sure what's going on. You have this woman who is a teacher at university, and every year she chooses, well, at least one man that she thinks deserves to, and then she does it. So a little bit intense, a little bit unhinged, but I think it's one of those books that you can't put down. You need to figure out what's going to happen, and you're also following this girl, very meek girl who is a student at university. So again, you don't really know what's going to connect these stories, and I couldn't put it down, and I liked it. Again, not going to say much more because things get intense. I'm a sucker for stories that have like crazy unhinged premises. It doesn't even have to be like the best book of all time. I will try it because I'm so curious to see what the author's going to do with this. And I did enjoy this one, A Short Stay in Hell. Right away, I was hooked. Okay, this is incredibly short. I mean, it does say a short stay, but it's like 100 pages. Basically, the main character is a Mormon. This man has done everything that was expected of him his whole life. He went to church, he donated money, he had, he got married, had 2 babies. Like, he's just a very decent man. And then he wakes up in this room with other people, and he's being told that you're going to hell because you pray to the wrong God. And the hell he is sent to is this giant library, and he has to find the one book that contains his life story. So The Short Stay, this is a huge library. So yeah, it's a little unhinged once again, and it's just one of those books that I had to try because this is so unique. I like that. So if you have any other books, like kind of sci-fi-y books like this, please let me know. I go out of my way trying to read those and watch those too. If you have recommendations for movies, I can definitely tell you some in the comment section. But yes, this obviously caught my eye and I had to have it. So I read it and I did enjoy it. I read the arc, I think it's finally out now, of Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, and I liked it. I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion. I haven't checked because I didn't want to know. But I liked it, but I didn't love it. I think the ending was kind of weaker than the rest of the story. I still liked it because obviously I wanted to read about sapphic vampires, and one of them is, again, truly unhinged, which clearly I have a thing for women that decided to get their revenge. But I felt like there was a lot happening because they are living obviously a long time, they're vampires, and I felt like the current time one was the weakest portion of the story, but her writing is absolutely beautiful. I do still think it is worth reading. I'm gonna have to go and check the reviews, but yes, I did like it, and I feel like the fact that it makes it to my top 5 shows you that I didn't read that many amazing books this quarter. And before I mention the last official book that made it to my top 5, I wanted to give a shout out to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because I finally got around to reading it. It was shamefully on my shelf for ever since it came out, really. And I finally got around to reading it and I really liked it. Reading from a point of view of Snow as a young man was messed up. troubling. We're gonna go with that. Any moment I started feeling empathy for him, it made me feel so uncomfortable. Like the fact that you see like, what's his name? Sejanus? But every time we would see him through his eyes, I would have moments of like, dude, you keep making things so much worse for everyone. And it's like, no, he's not the bad guy. I shouldn't feel like this. So it means that the author is doing her job. And yes, I think that I couldn't help but compare it to the movie since I had already seen the movie. And I feel like the book, of course, has more depth. So it really shows the way that Snow perceives Lucy. And yes, do think it's worth it. Of course, the book is going to be better than the movie in general. So yes, that one was worth it. So shout out to it. Martha was also good, but incredibly depressing. So I think I'm going to have to give the last spot on the top 5 to this book, this giant brick. So The Light of All That Falls, which is the last book in this adult fantasy trilogy. And this was a solid one. I did like the way it ends. My only complaint was that there's a part that is totally missing, but the author does mention it at the end. Basically, the book was getting too long, so he's going to do companion series. But still, I love the magic system. I love that the world building is affecting the story in the sense that like the history of this wall in the north that is failing and people are trying to bring it down even though it's protecting the population against the evil. So it's very much like a battle of good and evil, chosen one, very classic tropes, but I enjoy the characters. It's the last book, so I can't really say too much, but I got really emotionally invested in the main characters. Like, obviously it's a big war, so you're expecting things to get tragic, people to die, and when these moments happen, it's just, it hurts, and it goes to show the author did his job, and yeah, thanks for breaking my heart. So, love the story, love the way it ended. Again, nothing worse than finishing a trilogy and like the ending sucks. Not the case. So, recommend. The same author that wrote The Will of the Many, so it's worth it. Would recommend his older series. I feel like it was a fairly disappointing quarter. I still, again, obviously some that were absolutely worth it, but a lot of the ones that I was really excited to try ended up being flops, like the new Emily Henry, that was a flop. I did like Terry Pratchett. I started finally the Discworld series and they were good, but everyone raves about them so much. Sometimes the hype is so high that nothing is going to compare when you actually get around to reading the book. It's just not going to be life-changing as much as you expect it to be. I continued some series and things were fine. Like, it was a fine quarter. Like, it wasn't awful, but I didn't find enough 5-star to satisfy my cravings. So we're going to try to switch things up a little bit, and hopefully when I do my third quarter of the year, I will have a lot more to share. But I will be putting my first quarter of the year, so you can find my favorites, because there are definitely some really good books in there. And I recently posted my TBR for the rest of summer, so if you want to see what I'm planning on reading, definitely check that out, and I will see you there. Bye.